here with Superintendent of Schools candidates, Mr. Alan Murphy, Mr. Wyatt Milton, and we'll start off with Mr. Murphy, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody.
All right, I'm Alan Murphy, seeking the office of Superintendent of Schools for Baker County. I've devoted my life and my career to Baker County school system. I've been in the system for 34 years as a teacher, coach, school principal, and now at the district level and serving right now as associate superintendent. I'm married and I have 3 children. One of those children work in the school system, and also my wife is a principal at Westside Elementary. I feel like with the years of experience that I have, I'm the most qualified candidate for superintendent. I've also felt like with the support of the community that's reached out to me and encouraged me to run, and also leading this a little higher than that, I feel like I've been led by God to seek this position. I'm encouraged to continue serving additional years in our community in helping the students of our school system to become better community members. And so I would appreciate the support of those that would support me.
All right, and Mr. Milton.
Okay, Jessica, Joel, thank you guys for hosting this. I'm glad that the voters have the opportunity to hear from the candidates. My name is Wyatt Milton, and I'm a candidate for Superintendent of Schools here in Baker County. I'm a lifelong resident of Baker County. It's always been my home. I'm very concerned about the future of our community, specifically what goes on in our school system. I was a proud graduate of Baker County High School, and I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. I always had that desire in my heart, so I went to the University of Florida, graduated with a degree in history and education, and came back to Baker County Middle School, started teaching. I was Teacher of the Year, and after a few years I felt led to go back and get my master's in educational leadership, and I joined the school leadership team at Baker County Middle School, primarily focused on student discipline and helping improve instruction there. And then I was there for 2 years, and I was promoted to the district level administrator of school transportation, and I've been there this past school year, and we had a very successful year. And so when Ms. Rollerson made the decision to retire, I felt the call to put my name in the hat to run for superintendent of schools. I feel like I've got the skill set that is required of a school superintendent. I feel like I have the drive, the hard work ethic, and the vision to lead our school system into what I'm coining a new era of educational excellence. I'm looking forward to building on our strong foundation to push our schools to greater success. And I certainly look forward to meeting as many of you during this campaign, and look forward to working hard to earn your vote.
Bullying. Major problem, especially for the district in general, but it seems like it's becoming more prominent at the middle school level on up, and it's sometimes starting to lead more to parents pulling their children out of the public school system and switching to homeschool or private schools. The rate of safety incidents here in the last year was about 50% higher than the state average, and the rate of incidents defined by the state as crime, violence, or disruptive behavior has consistently been higher than the state for nearly 2 decades. How can the school district better protect students against the safety incidences defined by the state as crime, violence, and disruptive behavior and bullying in schools?
Okay, so to the voters, discipline is a major point on my platform. The safety and welfare of all students is our number one priority in the Baker County school system, and that certainly would continue under my leadership. Bullying, I feel like we have some great bullying policies in place already. We've got to be consistent with those policies. We've got to take a more proactive approach in educating students on what does constitute as bullying. We've got to work with parents and partner with parents in their child's education. As far as social media is concerned, you're seeing a large spike in cyberbullying. We must make sure that we're all working together to try to make sure students are safe at all times. As far as you talked about our assessor incident, that's our state reported incidents of high level behavior. Number one, Baker County is honest in their reporting. We welcome transparency, and we recognize that there are instances of pretty egregious behaviors that have to be dealt with. And so at the middle school, we always dealt pretty firm, fair, and consistently with those types of behaviors. On the school bus, the same thing. My approach has been to be as firm on those things. And again, I think that we've got to take a proactive approach as the school system. And like I mentioned earlier, partnering with parents. I think that we've got to nip small misbehaviors in the bud quickly so that they do not escalate into your larger assessor incidents. And so I'm looking forward to bringing that more of a proactive approach to school discipline to the Baker County School District.
So we want all students to be safe and secure when they come to schools. We don't want a student to come and be fearful of what's going to happen when they're there. And that's that open and honest communication with parents. I believe that begins with the consistency of making sure everyone knows the student code of conduct and knows what is acceptable behavior and what's not acceptable behavior. And then knowing that our teachers, staff, and administrators are going to be consistent and fair in dealing with situations when it goes outside that code of conduct, when someone breaks that code. And so that communication happens both ways. One, teachers, when they see things that are happening, have to be open with sharing with administrators or talking to parents ahead of time, being that proactive person to help in mitigating what's happening in the classroom. The other is, too, students, when they recognize these things are happening, are going to have to be open and honest with sharing with school administrators and with their parents so that those things can be dealt with before they become the major issues. I do agree with Mr. Milton. There are a number of districts that I think underreport what's happening. Our county has been consistently open and honest with reporting what has happened in those CESA reports, along with other reports as well. And so sometimes even with the graduation rates and those types of things, we seem like we're lagging behind others, but we're open and honest with our data. We're not satisfied with it at all, but it is true data. And so we're going to continue to be consistent and fair as we follow the student code of conduct.
Okay. What will be your top priorities, and this one is for you, Alan. What will be your top priorities in the first half of your term if elected?
So what I want to do is get everybody on the same page with recruiting and retaining teachers. People are not going into college anymore to be an educator. And that's unfortunate because I think this is one of those fields where you get the biggest reward, maybe not the biggest paycheck, but the biggest reward. Being able to see students through my careers flourish, learn new things, be able to go on and seek their dreams and careers that they want to do is great. It makes you feel great as a teacher, and many people don't get that opportunity to feel that because they're scared of going in the classroom. And again, that comes down to, I think, the support that teachers get when they're in the classroom. One of my major things that I want to focus on when I become superintendent is to offer the supports that teachers need to be successful. One of those is dealing with student discipline so that they're not constantly dealing with the same behaviors over and over again, and also being able to support them with the materials, curriculum, and supplies that they need in the classroom. And then the third would be getting them the professional development that they need to be successful. Many people that we're hiring now don't come from that education background in colleges, and so we have to be active in getting them the tools they need to be successful teachers in the classroom.
Well, my top priority is always going to be what's best for kids. We always use the term children first, and that any decision made in the Baker County school system under my leadership will always be anchored back in that question. It's kids first, employees, and community. Those are three priorities that I have. As far as those goals going in that first half of my first term, discipline is going to be my number one priority. We have to realize that that is a major, major concern for our teachers, for our parents, and it's going to take a approach to school discipline, a recognizing the numbers, recognizing the data, rolling up our sleeves and saying, okay, how are we going to address these things? What are the expectations for students, and how are we going to ensure students are going to meet those expectations? Improving academics is item number 2 on my list of goals in my first term. We are growing as a district, and that's a really great thing. We are moving up in student proficiency in ELA and math, but I think Mr. Murphy alluded to this. We're not satisfied with that. Our teachers are working hard, our kids are working hard, but we can reach a higher level. We want as many kids proficient in reading and math as we possibly can. And what that's going to take is number one, getting that discipline under control so that teachers feel empowered in their classrooms. Not only to make decisions regarding discipline and misbehavior of students, but also once that environment is safe and secure, then they're going to help other kids reach their full potential potential. And then item number 3 is going to be infrastructure. We're going to be running really hard into a new school funding project, a new Baker County Middle School project. And so in that first half, that's going to be a major goal of mine. It's going to be leading some of the groundwork that's already been laid by Ms. Rollerson and her staff, and building on that and making sure that we keep that project rolling in the right direction.
Given the ongoing teacher and bus driver shortages, how do you plan to improve employee recruitment and retention while still being good stewards of taxpayers' dollars?
That's right. So I'd love to sit here and tell teachers and bus drivers and non-instructional staff and everybody that, hey, we're going to give you $5,000 extra, but we know that we can't do that. We are good stewards of taxpayers' dollars. But what we can do is we can create an environment where employees feel valued, employees feel supported. I just got an email this morning from a teacher about how she feels that she is working in an environment that mainly in concerns to student discipline, that she just doesn't feel supported. And so what can we do? When I went to the bus garage, that was my number one concern, is I can't pay bus drivers anymore, but how do I support them in a very practical approach? And so the thing I did is I took on as much discipline in-house at the bus garage as I possibly could. If the bus drivers were having issues with students, I quickly was able to correct those issues and reach out to parents, and we all worked together to solve the problem. And that's what's led to such a high morale rate at the bus garage, is they feel empowered, they feel supported, and that's certainly a first step in being able to retain highly effective teachers and recruit potential teachers. Is we want them working in an environment, and again, Ms. Rollerson did a great thing when she said it's better in Baker. She's already started to cultivate that ideology that Baker County is a great place to work, because it is, but we want to make sure that it continues to be. We do have teachers leaving the profession. It's not just here, it's nationwide, but it's something that I believe that we can contribute to finding a solution to it. And so improving teacher morale and improving employee morale are some really practical ways that we can do that. And again, it's just providing that level of support to our employees.
I believe that support level, which I've already mentioned, is very important, and it's key in that. When I went in as principal at Baker County High School in 2015, one of my goals was to unify the school. All employees that are there, we're all working towards a common goal. And my job as principal was to provide the supports to be able to make that happen. Teachers bought in, other employees bought in, and we worked hard together. Through that leadership, not the hard work, the leadership, the employees, the staff, they all worked hard together. Students bought in together, parents and other stakeholders bought in together. And in just a couple years, we moved Baker County High School to its first and only grade of A. It's never happened before, hasn't happened since. I take great pride in that. Not that I did a lot of hard work, but that I worked with people. I had an open door policy. If my door was open, come see me, talk to me. I'll help you. If you need supports, if you need things, let me know how. If our budget can't handle it, I'll figure a way to get the supports you need to make your classroom successful, or whatever program it was. And so I think it's those supports that are going to bring people in and also keep people and make our school district successful.
Should training for individuals on the autism spectrum be mandated for all school staff and administrators? Why or why not? And that one, yes, that's for you.
Okay.
Sorry.
So training on the autism spectrum, I do believe that it should be something that people need to be able to identify. It's one of those things that as they do, we can offer additional supports to students to make them more successful. And this isn't just teachers in the classroom. A bus driver can recognize, hey, maybe something's happening a little different. A cafeteria worker who befriends a student can recognize those things that are happening. And so when you get that recognition and you can provide the services that those students need, we can help those students to overcome some of the issues that maybe they struggle with that are on the autism spectrum. I think it's very important.
That's an absolutely, Jessica. I believe firmly, matter of fact, I have a nephew that's on the autism spectrum. He's high functioning, but he's totally different than the next high functioning autistic student. And we've certainly, and I mirror what Mr. Murphy is saying, at the school level, in the classroom, in district level, on the buses, employees need to have that awareness so that they can better serve students. This past year, our community hosted several autism trainings through Blackburn Career Funeral Home. They paid for it. And I strongly encourage my bus drivers, ESC bus drivers and regular, to please, let's go to that training. I went to that training as well. And again, it's just opening up your mind to a whole new way of thinking concerning special needs students. Our number of special needs students grows and grows annually. You're seeing more kids with IEPs and 504 plans. And so it's very important for us as a district to all have that awareness and make sure that we are doing what's right for kids and what's best for kids.
What is the role of a school district superintendent beyond running the day-to-day operations and working with other elected officials on the school board? That's for you.
The role of superintendent is not just being in charge of day-to-day operations of the school system. Whoever the individual is that's elected school superintendent in Baker County, their vision, their drive for the school system, what they would like to see us accomplish is reflected throughout the whole school system. And so it's very important that we have an individual in that office that is a visionary, that is a servant leader, that can lay plans, can motivate people to run towards a common goal. And so it's not just electing somebody who maybe has the experience in this area or experience in that area. It's electing someone that people can get behind and support 100% and all join together and reach that common goal. And I certainly think that I have those qualities that I can get people behind and say, you know what, let's roll up our sleeves and let's get to work and let's make the Baker County school system as best as it possibly can be.
I think that the superintendent is the face of the school system. That person not only oversees those day-to-day operations, but they have to be the spokesperson for that district, which means at a state level and a national level as well. Reaching out to our state level officials and being able to work towards finances or directives that's going to improve the school district. I feel that I am a person who can openly communicate with people and can seek additional supports outside of our district to make our district work well. One of the things that I've been able to be a part of in the past and also in this future endeavor of new schools was the special facilities funding that the state offers. Our district cannot afford to purchase multi-million-dollar buildings. There's other initiatives we can't afford. But through seeking those state officials, through seeking the process of doing this, we have been able to. Baker County couldn't even go into a bond program to be able to purchase a new school. We wouldn't be able to make the payments on it. We don't have that amount of tax base to be able to do that. But being able to be a part of the team that is seeking that, being able to talk to the right people, being able to project what Baker County needs is a big step. And our community really needs these new schools. I mean, we have schools that are 50 some odd, 60 some odd years old. We're seeking special funding now for Baker County Middle School, and we're proud that we're able to do that. Hopefully we'll be able to see that happening very soon. And that's one of those things. Being that face of Baker County schools is very important, open and accessible to the public and to state representatives.
What policy or procedural changes would you pursue if elected as the next superintendent of schools?
So policy is one of those things that is very tied up in a bunch of things. One's related to state mandates, state law changes, those types of things. So when those get brought to us, it's not just willy-nilly we wanted to create a policy regarding this. There's reasons behind that. And each year when we have new laws go in, policies change. One of the biggest policy changes that I would seek to try to figure out how to do, and this is where it's going to be working with our state representatives to be able to do that, is the time change that they're wanting to, which was approved. It is a law that's supposed to go in effect not this year, but next school year, that secondary students have to start after 8 o'clock in the morning. And for us, we don't have enough buses to be able to run all the routes at the same time. If we had enough drivers, if we had enough buses, we could make that work because elementary and secondary could start at the same time. But since we have to run dual routes, this becomes a major issue. And when you think about secondary students starting later in the day, later in the morning, sounds great for kids, but we all know teenage kids. I know when I had teenage kids, if I tell them they don't have to wake up as early in the morning, they're going to stay up later in the evening. And so it's going to be the same boat as far as where they are when they come in the morning. I can't see elementary students standing in the dark trying to catch a bus at 6:30 in the morning. It's a very hard thing to see, the danger that's out there. And so this is going to be a policy, a law that's going to need to be changed. We have some districts in the state that are testing this out this year, and we're curious to see how that went. Some more are testing it out coming up here pretty soon, and so we're really going to strive to look at this, and hopefully we can get some changes made.
I'm going to mirror quite a bit of what Mr. Murphy said. He is correct in that most of our policies are mandated through statute or law that's been passed down from Tallahassee. We work hand in hand with the Northeast Florida Educational Consortium to draft those policies, and then work with our school board through work sessions to make those part of our official school board policy. We have good policies in place. Policies come through trial and error, and we've got good ones in place. We've got to be consistent in following them. And as far as what Mr. Murphy said earlier concerning school start times, as Director of Transportation, as soon as that was passed down, we starting to plan what does that look like and what's best for our kids in Baker County. I get the data that's behind it. There's a lot of research that support that secondary students need to start after 8 o'clock in the morning. However, I do not know that Baker County students, that's what's best, simply because you will have scenarios when you're talking about Baxter, South Sanderson, where you've got elementary students getting picked up by that school bus in the dark. And then in the afternoons, you're going to have issues with students and childcare. A lot of our older students take care of our younger students in the afternoon. And so what we've got to do is be that voice in Tallahassee, lobby those lawmakers, really put your input in, and really rally folks behind that to get that policy changed, because it will be policy in the Baker County school system unless something gives. And so I would work very hard to try to make sure that we're doing what's best for our students and our families.
The state has worked for several years to expand school choice using taxpayer dollars. Do you believe giving parents more options is harming traditional public schools? Why or why not?
Absolutely, I believe it's harming traditional public schools. One of my priorities I mentioned early on was our community, and I'm worried about Baker County, the community as a whole. Parents are entitled to educate their children in whatever way they feel like best meets the needs of that child. But I want kids in the Baker County public school system. We live in a community where we have one high school, one middle school. The school system is the heartbeat of that community. I don't want people leaving. And so I believe that we've got to be more competitive on a lot of different levels in order to keep students in our school system. Because again, when we're looking at the big picture here, we want kids to be part of the school community so that they can go and come back and reinvest in this community. So we're not just looking at right now, we're looking at the future of Baker County. And so we've got to be more competitive in several different ways. Number one, your safety, including student discipline, your academics, your infrastructure. Parents want students to attend schools that are attractive and clean and safe. And so Mr. Murphy alluded to that earlier. We've got schools that are 50 years old. We're going to have to keep the ball rolling on procuring special facilities funding as quickly as we can. Now, there are some requirements there. I think it's 3 years after you get it, you can reapply. But we're going to have to continue to be proactive in that way because, again, school choice has hurt the public school system and will continue to do so. So we want to make sure that we're meeting the needs of all students in Baker County as well as meeting some of the needs and concerns of parents.
So I do agree that parents need the opportunity to make their own choices where they feel it's best for students to go. One of the things as an ex-coach, I get into that competitive nature. And this is one of those where if I know I have competition, it makes me want to come out and fight. It makes me want to do better. And it makes me want to make our school system the best that it can be. So parents do choose Baker County School District as their choice for their children to get their education. We have a lot of great things that our district has done in the past and will continue to do. Our data that came back this year shows that we're excelling above the state in many areas. There are always areas to improve, obviously, but we're doing very well compared to many other areas. And so giving the parents an opportunity to use state funds obviously takes funds away from us when a student goes somewhere else. But we can strive harder to bring those students to our district because we offer the best education around. Our high school has had accolades over and over again with their career and technical programs. I've been hand in hand with some of those programs, and so many schools from other counties and other places can't offer those things. Well, how can Little Baker County do it? Because there's a focus on it, and those things need to continue to keep our students active and engaged in coming to our school system.
What would be your strategy to ensure continued access to millions of state dollars for the new school facility construction?
So I believe when you go into special facility funding, we just went through a process where we showed the facility itself and what the needs were. Once you're allocated or put on the check mark for being a school of need, you're in that pool, and you're in that pool from then on. So then it's a matter of moving up in the ranks when all these other schools are doing the same thing. So again, it's that competition that's there. And we have to show where our greatest need is, that Baker County has that great need. And that without those special facility fundings, what is our facility going to look like? Where are kids going to go to school? Are they the safest? Are they in a facility that's nice and that they can be proud of and that type of thing? And so coming up in July, we're going to be going to Tallahassee, and we're going to be showing exactly where we are, which you kind of have to lay your cards on the table and show it. But in the same way, we're showing it so that we can move on and progress. And so I can't even imagine how great it would be to have Baker County Middle School on the same property with a new facility, with new athletic fields there, new drop-off and pickup spots that don't back out onto 228 and into the neighborhoods and that type of thing. Just how much better the morale, how much better for teachers, how much better for our stakeholders to be able to enjoy that. And so this is a process that we have to continue to get into. Once the middle school is completed, it's not over. We've got other aging facilities. Westside Elementary would be the next one, I believe, that might go on that facility funding. And so it's staying in that pipeline. It's continuing to push to make Baker County School Districts the best that it can be.
I'll go back to something that we've said earlier on in the broadcast, and it's all about building relationships. Access to state dollars, there is a protocol that you must follow, showing your areas of need and those types of things. But at the end of the day, it's going to be about building positive relationships with the people who control the purse strings. And that's something that I feel like I have the ability to do very well. I love people. I love building relationships with folks. And so once we get Baker County Middle School, and when I'm elected, I will jump head first into that new special facilities building process and make sure that we keep that momentum up, we keep the ball rolling to ensure that, like Mr. Murphy said, they're going in July to get on the list. Hopefully we will have that funding set aside, and we will continue to work with the architect and build the best facility that we can for this community. But after that, we still have a ton of work to do. Like Mr. Murphy said, you have other aging facilities that we've got to continue. And again, it's all about having that presence in Tallahassee. We've got good local lawmakers here that have a major presence in Tallahassee. It's going to be tapping into those resources that we have and those connections that we have. The other piece of that puzzle is the maintenance and upkeep of those facilities. We've got to make sure that they are upheld to the best possible way, because we want those schools to last another 50 years, just like the ones have before. And so it's a big process, but it's one that I'm looking forward to. I'm always approachable and always willing to meet new folks and see what we can come up with together.
As of right now, I think the state has mandated a minimum pay for teachers, and our district has not met that minimum yet. How would you work to increase the funding, whether at the county, state, or federal levels, to meet that requirement?
Well, Mr. Murphy and myself are both on the district negotiating team. We have collective bargaining with the teachers union and the non-instructional union, and so we meet every summer to try to get that level up to 47.5. We're close. We're closer than we have been, but we've got to make an investment in our employees. And again, we'd all like to wave a magic wand and have more money, but it's going to take, kind of back to school facilities, it's going to take lobbying. It's going to take very effective relationships in Tallahassee to be in the governor's ear, to be in the state finances ear, and say, look, we've got to do more things to get teachers more money. Again, if you're gonna have teachers make a livable wage, which we want them to, if you have bus drivers and other non-instructional cafeteria workers, we want them to make as much money as they can. But as far as strategies moving forward, it's got to be the figurehead of the Baker County school system. The superintendent has got to make that presence in Tallahassee. There are things that we can do, though, to try to alleviate some of the burden on teachers. One of the things we did this year was we negotiated a virtual work day for teachers, and to try to give incentives to folks when we don't have the money right now. But that's not to say we're not going to. We're going to continue to work, continue to lobby to get the funding we need to get teachers the money that they deserve.
So unfortunately, teachers is one of those professions that for some reason hasn't been valued as much as others as far as pay goes. And so that is one of my goals, is to try to get teacher pay as high as we can get it. One of the big problems is the budget that schools are given. The majority of it goes to teacher allocation, it goes to teacher pay. When you're talking about a budget that over 90% of it is teacher pay, we have to be very careful with the remaining amount that we have to make sure that our facilities are going to be taken care of, that we have the curriculum we need in classrooms, all those other things that take place. And so Mr. Milton made a comment about working on the bargaining unit to work with teachers on their pay. It was a state mandate 4 years ago. 47.5 was the amount that we were supposed to reach. And they gave additional allocations of funds. When we started out, we were right around $36,000, maybe a little more than that. This year when we finished, we're just above 46, and so in just a short amount of time, we've increased $10,000, which is great, but we're still way far low compared to other professions. And we value our teachers. We want to be able to pay them. If I had the pot of money, it'd be spent on our teachers and staff to be able to come to work and be able to do the great job that they do. We set up, as the chief negotiator for the bargaining unit, we set a goal for 3 years to get to that 47.5. We've moved in the last 2 years. Next year's that third year. We expect to be there, which is great, but it's still just the baseline. And so now it's catching up the other teachers, because we have a compression that's there where a number of teachers, you may work 10 years and you're making the same amount of money. And that's not fair either. But it was the hard times we were set in because of the mandates that the state gave us. And so now's the time to seek the opportunities with the state to be able to look for ways that we can pay our teachers even more.
Who is a political role model that inspired you to run for office?
Political role model that inspired me to run for office. There are a number of local people that have been in positions and that have dedicated their life to serving, especially in the school system. When you talk about law enforcement, when you talk about county management, I think that the schools even top those. And I know safety of law enforcement and those people is very important, don't get me wrong, but changing lives of students, making their lives better is the direction I want to go. And so people like Tim Starling, who I spoke to, unfortunately, just a couple weeks before he passed, he was a role model. He was somebody who did a great job. He had liaisons with the state. He had open doors where he talked to the public. That's the kind of person I want to be. That's the kind of leader I want to be. Sherry Rollerson, who's in office now, everybody loves Miss Sherry. And she builds those relationships. And I've seen firsthand, since I work side by side with her in that office, how she does that. And so I want to continue to do those things as well. Having open ears to be able to hear people's issues. There may be complaints at times, those types of things. And just to be able to have somebody in office that people feel comfortable with speaking to that can actually make change happen. That's why those two people really stand out to me as role models.
Well, there are three, Jessica, that really come to my mind, and they are all former school superintendents. I've known three former school superintendents of the Baker County school system personally: Tim Starlin, Paula Barton, and Sherry Rollerson. And so I have to evaluate the three of those political figures. Mr. Tim was a young man like myself. He was 29 when he got elected in 1976. I too went and saw Mr. Tim a couple of times when I was starting to mull over the decision about seeking office. I just wanted to talk to him about what that looked like. Tim was as innovative a leader as we've seen. He had a way of working with people. Everybody loved Mr. Tim. He had a presence in Tallahassee. He knew how to build those relationships over there, and he brought home the bacon. We had many building projects under him. His crowning achievement was in 1989, that new Baker County High School, and how unimaginable and state-of-the-art it was when it was built. And so I have to take that innovative that Tim offered and that young, positive leadership direction that he had, and he served us for 20 years. Miss Paula had a strong desire to serve with ethical leadership. She is a true servant of the public. She maintained a strong hold on discipline during her time in office and made a lot of positive changes. And then, of course, Ms. Rollerson, our current superintendent, she has a love for people that is unreal, and she's an encourager. You never speak to her without feeling like $1 million when you leave. And so I take the qualities out of those three folks: Mr. Tim and his innovativeness and his drive and his energy and vigor, and Miss Paula and just her firm ethical leadership, and Miss Sherry, just her love for people. And I identify those qualities in myself, and I say, you know what, I embody those things. And I know that I'm the type of person that can do those folks proud and lead us into a new phase in the Baker County school system.
Tell us why else voters should color in that little circle next to your name on the ballot.
Well, I think that after this broadcast, you will see Mr. Murphy and myself have a lot of similar qualities. He is an ethical man who has led us for many years. I feel like I've got experience as a teacher, school level leadership, district level leadership. I've got some experience that is a little unusual. I've been appointed by Governor Ron DeSantis to serve on the Baker County Hospital Authority. We are responsible for setting a millage rate and levying your property taxes to promote health care in Baker County. I've been a part of negotiating the new lease with Baker County Medical Services and the Hospital Authority to make sure that our local hospital stays in local hands for many years. But apart from some of those things, I think that the key thing that I think people would vote for me for, and I certainly hope they do, is just a direction. Where do we want to go? I believe education nationwide could use a fresh approach in leadership. A lot of the problems we experience in Baker County are not isolated here. They are nationwide. They're statewide. And so it's are we going to make an investment in our future with Wyatt Milton as our school superintendent? He's a smart young man. He's a hard worker. He's driven. He's got a vision for where this school system can be. And I ask voters to vote for which candidate they feel like is going to be the best long-term investment, who's going to work hardest to get us to an A school system. And I certainly know that it's me. And so I certainly hope that through this you've gotten some insight as to what my heart is. My heart is for kids. My heart is for Baker County. And I certainly hope that I can earn your vote in August. And I look forward to serving you for many years.
Kids is why I got into this profession. Way back 1990s when I started, and I did it because I loved working with kids. I found that out working as a youth minister. I felt the lead of God in my life to work with students, and so switched gears from what I was going to do. I was going to be an engineer. I had all the prereqs. I had to start over again to go into education, and loved working with them. That's one of the things I miss the most in the position that I'm in now. Is I'm not working daily with students, but I do get to give the supports to provide those supports for our students, for our teachers, for other staff, and so. I think that the biggest thing is people knowing that I'm a man of faith. I stand on biblical truths. Those guide my directions, those guide my decisions and the things that I do. And where state law stands, I'll follow it up to the point that it doesn't cross God's law. And so that's a very important thing in my life. I represent, as superintendent, the people of Baker County. And I believe the people of Baker County want someone who's an ethical, moral person who makes the best decisions for their students, for their children. And one of the goals that I've always had especially when I was principal, when a students walked across that stage, when they received their diploma, we were so proud of them. But the whole point in getting that diploma was so they could go into the workforce one day, whether it's furthering their education, whether it's going directly into the workforce, however it is, and bring their talents, bring their abilities that God has given them back to our community to make it a better place. And that's the only way Baker County is going to be a better place, is when good people come back and they put their talents and abilities to use as a whole for us.
All right. Well, I appreciate both of you gentlemen stopping by and doing this with us today. I know our voters will